All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Brock Purdy is the MVP of the league, and we'll discuss it next. We'll talk about why is that the case, that Purdy should be the NFL's MVP. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m., or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code Krug, and they will match you up to your first $100. All right, Nick Wagner wrote a great piece on ESPN.com. And we also heard Fred Warner on the Pat McAfee show talking a little bit about why Brock Purdy should be the MVP of the league. And
what's Brock Purdy like? We see him, like, when we watch him, like, as a fan, he seems like he is never flustered. The moment is never too big for him. He's always in control. Have you ever, like, is that how he was from day one in there?
From day one, that's exactly how he's been all the way through. And the guy's made of the right stuff through and through. Since the day he came in here, he's just been about ball. He hasn't been about any of the outside noise or any of that nonsense. You know, all he wants to do is be his best self for this team. And that's exactly what you want out of your franchise quarterback, right? And it doesn't matter how great he's playing or, you know, any type of lull that there's been. He's been the exact same, head down, humble as can be, and the exact type of guy that we need to lead our team.
I really wholeheartedly agree. I think Purdy is playing such good football that he doesn't even, you don't even realize how good he's playing because he's making it look easy. And that is to me, the main difference between being good, very good, and spectacular. Sometimes when you're spectacular, you're so good that you make it look easy. And that, I think, is where Brock Purdy is right now. He's so good at what he does. He's so efficient in how he runs the 49er offense that he literally makes you go, well, anybody could do that. And then he comes out of the game and you see a couple passes of Sam Darnold and the ball doesn't come out on time and the ball isn't quite accurate and the results are not the same. And so, yeah, does Brock have a tremendous surrounding cast? He absolutely does. But almost every MVP does. I mean, the last Niner to win the MVP was Steve Young in 1994. What did Steve Young have? He had a terrific offensive line. He had Ricky Waters at halfback. He had bar none at fullback, Brent Jones at tight end, John Taylor and Jerry Rice at wide receiver, Deion Sanders and Eric Davis on the corners, Merton Hanks and Tim McDonald as the safeties, a second line of defense at linebacker that include Lee Woodall, Ken Norton Jr., and Gary Plummer, and Dana Stubblefield and Bryant Young inside, and a slew of great defensive ends off the edges with, Ricky Jackson, Richard Dent, Charles Mann. I mean, all kinds of guys. The Niners had an absolute studly team. I mean, they had all kinds of players everywhere. Steve Young was still the MVP of the league. So, and if you go and look at quarterbacks who've won the MVP, you'll be hard pressed to find one that doesn't have just a star-studded cast surrounding them. So, to me, though, it's the way that Brock Purdy's playing right now. It's a right now award. It's December 20th. How are you playing right now? How are you playing down the stretch? The beginning part of the year, there's a little bit of a feeling out process. Teams get hot early and then they fall by the wayside. Teams start off slowly sometimes because they, had injuries. This is a quarterback in his second year coming back from major offseason elbow surgery, and he did not do anything football-wise for the most part as far as physical reps with his receivers in the offseason. So there was reason to believe that the early season was going to be a little bit of touch and go, a little bit of a feeling out process. We didn't know how Brock Purdy was going to play. He played really well, but he's playing his best right now. That would be my argument for why Brock Purdy's the MVP. If you average Brock Purdy's last 6 games and you took his last 6 games of what he's done and put that into a complete 17-game regular season, what we're talking about is 4,992 passing yards, 48 passing touchdowns, and 6 picks. Guys, you can say whatever you want. You can call them whatever you want. Those are MVP numbers. You throw for nearly 5,000 yards, 48 touchdowns, and 6 picks, and win and win and win and win and win some more, you're the MVP of the league most years. Brock Purdy is playing his best when it matters most. And as of Tuesday, Brock Purdy was at minus 215, the betting favorite to win the MVP. Now, Purdy himself is humble and says, no, it should be CMC. CMC's plus 1,200, by the way, to win the MVP. Purdy says CMC deserves it. And that, he also says, hey, man, it's a team award. And look at this team that the Niners have assembled. They've got 10, as we're sitting here this morning, the 49ers have 10 different players that lead their position in the Pro Bowl voting. 10 players. And they're probably going to have 13 Pro Bowlers overall. That's a ton of talent. So is Brock Purdy on a great team? Yes. But that's not why he's the MVP. Is Christian McCaffrey on a great team? Yes. But that's not why he's having the year that he's having. Not 100%. Sunday night, we're going to see probably the most important chapter of this story written when the Ravens come to town and we get a firsthand look at Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, is also in this MVP race. He's plus 450 to win it. Monday night, Christmas night, Niners and Ravens in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium. 5:15 kickoff. Don't miss it. That's West Coast, by the way. And that game's going to have a huge impact on this MVP race. Brock Purdy throws for 300 yards and the Niners win that game going away, then he's the MVP. If Brock Purdy stumbles against the number 1 defense and Christian McCaffrey runs for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns and the Niners win going away, maybe CMC's the favorite. If the Ravens come to town Sunday night and pull the upset and Lamar plays incredible football and throws for 300 yards and runs for another 100 and counts for 4 touchdowns, maybe he wins the MVP. Sunday night is going to decide this award. Huge TV audience. The entire nation will be watching. They will have sat there after their Christmas Eve and Christmas morning celebrations, settling in for maybe one of the best football games of the year. And of the 3 MVP candidates in the game, Lamar, CMC, and Purdy, whoever lights it up on Monday night probably gets the hardware. But once again, I really think it should be Purdy. The last 49er to win the MVP was Steve Young in 1994. Go look at Steve Young's year and look at the year that Purdy's had. Purdy belongs as the MVP. He's a second-year quarterback. I mean, that's the other thing. Look at what he's doing as a second-year quarterback. When many young quarterbacks at this point are still in their developmental stages, this guy ranks first in the NFL in all the major categories. He leads the NFL in QBR, which is the all-encompassing ESPN quarterback stat. He's leading the league in passer rating. He's number 1 in the league in yards per attempt. He's number 1 in the league in touchdown passes. He's number 1 in the league in touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, the guy is playing incredible football. And when you factor in, he's only throwing at 27.4 times per game. That's 21st in the NFL. So not only is he dominating in these stats, you could say that the true test of any player is not necessarily his gross stats, but his efficiency and is his team winning. He's very, very efficient. As I said, he's only got 27.4 pass attempts per game. That's 21st in the league. The Nick Wagner stat in his article that I thought was amazing, Elias Sports preview has our Sports Bureau, the Elias Sports Bureau stat There have been 5 NFL quarterbacks who have led the NFL in yards per attempt and touchdown to interception ratio since 2000. Brock Purdy's the 5th of the 5. The previous 4 have all won the MVP. Why should Purdy be any different? He's going to lead the NFL in yards per attempt. He's going to lead the NFL in touchdown to interception ratio. There's been 4 others to do it in the last quarter century. They've all been the MVP. He's doing it. Why is he not the MVP? The answer is he is the MVP. Brock Purdy barely even, you look at Purdy's yards per attempt, it's 9.9. That's a historically great number. That's on pace to be the 3rd highest mark in the history of the NFL. The people that claim dink and dunk look like the biggest idiots of all time because nobody drives the ball down the field better than this guy, Brock Purdy. And to say he's a system quarterback, last I checked, there is not a quarterback in the NFL that doesn't play in a system. Everybody plays in some system. I mean, but is he a product of Shanahan? To me, he's playing the best quarterback on the best team in the league. And, if Purdy is a product of Shanahan's system and the talent on the 49ers is a major reason why Purdy's so good, couldn't you make those exact same arguments about CMC? You don't think CMC is benefiting from Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and these other weapons? CMC, by the way, says that Purdy's the MVP. And Christian's been incredible. Absolutely been incredible. He's number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in scrimmage yards, number 1 in yards after contact, number 1 in 10-plus yard runs. The 2 of these guys are leading the Niners offense to incredible. The Niners are dominant. The Niners are a dominant yards after the catch team. They average 6.4 yards after the catch per completion, far and away the number one spot in the league. It's a run first offense. I get that. And CMC is that runner. So I know there's a tendency to say, well, hey, CMC. And then the 49ers are winning, and they're winning big. They've won 10 of their last 11 games by double digits. But to me, I would say the stat that really tells you that Brock Purdy's the MVP is the non-stat. You say, what do you mean the non-stat? It's what Brock Purdy isn't asked to do in the 4th quarter. He's number 1 in all the major categories. As I said, his yards per attempt is historically great. But he only is averaging 5.4 pass attempts in the 4th quarter. He's only averaging 12.6 offensive snaps per game in the 4th quarter. So his numbers, as great as they are, could be appreciably better. And all these people that say, well, he hasn't let all these come from behind wins, they haven't been trailing. He did lead them for a come from behind win in Cleveland against maybe the best defense in the league, and one of the best defenses in the league for sure. The Browns have a tremendous defense, and Jake Moody missed the field goal. 41-yarder, missed it. Is that Purdy's fault? You gonna hold the MVP against Brock Purdy for that? But to me, that's it right there. Brock Purdy's number 1 in all these major categories, and he's not really in aggressive throw mode, if ever, in the 4th quarter. Rarely, if ever. He's usually handing it off, and just running out the clock. And maybe making a couple of key passes, but he's also really good at icing these games and putting them away. He's a major reason the Niners have won 10 of their last 11 games by double digits, but he also could put up bigger numbers than he's even put up thus far if he were in throw mode in the 4th quarter, and he's just not. So CMC's been awesome. Lamar's been awesome. It all gets decided Sunday night for sure. But if you said to me, who's the MVP in the league? It's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is the MVP in the league. And then, you could argue he's the comeback player of the year in the league, and he's the offensive player of the year in the league. If you said make a prediction, I would say that Tyreek Hill and CMC will battle for the offensive player of the year award, and that Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott will battle for the MVP of the league. And if it's really probably down to Lamar and Purdy, and whoever plays bigger Sunday night's getting the hardware. But my vote would be for Brock Purdy. He's got a great team around him. There's no doubt about it. He's got a great head coach. He plays in a very, very good system. But it's the fact that he leads in QBR, yards per attempt, touchdown passes, touchdown to interception ratio. It's the efficiency with which he's done it. And then, you talk to guys like Fred Warner. What did Fred Warner say when he went on Pat McAfee's show? He's like, hey, man, this guy's a humble leader. He's all about the right things. He's doing it the right way. Warner called him MVP Purd. To me, he's the MVP of the league. He's the MVP. Christian's been incredible, but it's become a quarterback award. And if Brock outduels and is impressive Monday night against Lamar at Levi's on Christmas night, he's winning that hardware. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Check that link in the description. Use that promo code Krug, KRUEG, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.